What is going on, everybody? It's been a little bit, and I hope you've been having a good time with your ROG Ally and Steam Deck together as one, not just one or the other. It seems like a lot of people have misconceptions that one is better than the other in every single way. The ROG Ally and the Steam Deck are better than one another in different ways. And this war has been going on for a month, with the Steam Deck community using all their knowledge of Linux accumulated over the course of more than a year, and the issues that have been coming up with the ROG Ally, like the dreaded SD card issue, for instance. But anyway, this isn't about that. It just seems a lot of people don't believe that the ROG Ally and the Steam Deck can coexist, and this is just driving me crazy. I see all kind of YouTubers just throwing their principles away and commenting on one or the other as if it can be better, or as if the ROG Ally isn't at the beginning of its life. Well, I've personally been using both effectively at the same time to make the ultimate duo to play your favorite games with enough reliable power and control. It isn't exactly the easiest task to navigate through Windows, especially when it's your first startup. Everything needs to be opened and organized. Even I sometimes think the process is tedious, but it's still quick enough to shrug off altogether. It's Windows. I'm used to it. The Steam Deck UI is so smooth, it makes powerhouses like the ROG Ally seem like it's lacking something. So I do admit that the Steam Deck's UI is graceful, and it's something to commend. But today I'm here to say I've effectively combined the two best parts of each handheld PC. The ROG Ally has the most power, and the Steam Deck has the best interface and accessibility. What if you can effectively combine the two to get power and control? The Steam Deck's UI and the ROG Ally's sheer power. Well, luckily, Valve has made that possibility a reality with its oldest feature that comes free with any Steam Deck or Steam-compatible computer, which are most, and that is the Remote Play Steam Link feature. But since the Steam OS is specifically integrated into the Steam Deck, the Remote Play on it is special. I can see that even if the original Steam Deck becomes an artifact, it can still have its immense uses with a Remote Play feature. The fact its controls are so insanely comfortable alone and varied makes it the ultimate controller nobody expected to love so much, just judging by its positioning alone. And in this instance, I mainly use the ROG Ally docked and the Steam Deck obviously unplugged on battery in Remote Play mode. But with the controls, Valve has worked painstakingly long months on perfecting the Steam Deck's custom UI to work with it, not only for on-the-go play, but to actually create a $400 PC, or in this case, a PC Wii U controller, or as I call it, the Master Controller. And some would even question, why would a person own a Steam Deck and an ROG Ally? Just let me finish explaining, and you'll most likely be on board too. I mean, why bother installing Windows into Steam Deck when ROG Ally comes with it tailor-made and with a much better experience with that specific OS? And let's face it, if you are going to install Windows on the Steam Deck, you're not going to install an official license anyway. And why bother installing SteamOS into an ROG Ally when it isn't even fully supported yet? Why not just combine the two if you have both already? With both the Steam Deck and ROG Ally, you have all you need to make the ultimate gaming setup, along with surround sound speakers if you can spare the change, because we all need surround sound speakers to game. But if you don't have that, there are actually some settings you can pull to make sound come out of the ROG Ally and the Steam Deck simultaneously to make that surround sound speaker effect. But that might just be in another video. If you actually do happen to own both, congratulations, you have two of the best and well-known handheld PCs in the world, according to my YouTube poll from last week. And if you own both, the hard part is over. Now, the first thing you need to make the Steam Deck a masterful controller for the ROG Ally, you don't need to be in online mode to use this feature. Just make sure your Steam Deck is connected to Wi-Fi, and it doesn't necessarily need to be good Wi-Fi. You also need to make sure you make shortcuts for every game, even if they're third-party games or Android games or just any application. Make sure you make the shortcut on Steam, because the second you connect with your Steam Deck to your local Wi-Fi, those shortcuts will automatically get pulled up and load in. You can stream any shortcut from Steam to your Steam Deck, meaning if you make a shortcut for something like Notepad, you can stream that program straight to your Steam Deck, as long as it's supported on the PC or device that you're streaming from. And I have a relatively crappy Wi-Fi. In fact, I call my Wi-Fi crappy Wi-Fi. And by streaming those specific shortcuts from your ROG Ally while docked, which is how I use it in this instance, to your Steam Deck, you're going to bring the Steam Deck's accessibility and UI directly to your ROG Ally in this one simple step of making a shortcut, specifically on the device you're streaming from. Now you're probably going to ask, if you have crappy Wi-Fi, then the image is probably not going to be that great. That's completely true, and I'll get to that. If you made a shortcut in Steam on your ROG Ally, it will almost immediately appear on your Steam Deck, as long as you're connected to the internet. And ironically, for a long time, this shortcut syncing annoyed me a little bit. But after realizing how useful these small shortcuts can be, they've become lifesavers. I've grown to absolutely love streaming straight to my Steam Deck to use it as a controller, because you can adjust controller order, which the ROG Ally doesn't have. You can play music, multitask, and most importantly, bring up the Steam Deck menu and close any app as if it were installed directly on the Steam Deck itself. So that means if you open Google Chrome, you can go straight to your Steam Deck UI and just exit game. Well, it's going to say exit game regardless of what you're using, but it'll close the application as if it were a game. The ROG Ally does have that option of ending task, but there are some instances where that doesn't work. And that's only if the Armory crate is halted by other applications. But this isn't about the ROG Ally's UI, it's about the Steam Decks. And you're probably also asking yourself, why would I stream the game to my Steam Deck instead of just using it as a controller? That would probably save battery. You're right, but you wouldn't be able to take advantage of the SteamOS's UI or be able to control the games with the Steam Deck's internal settings either, as well as take advantage of the Steam Deck's full control functions. There's nothing better than having a controller that actually displays game information and its own battery life. That's why when the Wii U was announced, I was actually automatically on board. The idea of having a controller that can do everything sounded extremely appealing. But let's get into the battery life of this newly found Steam Deck Master Controller. With some custom settings, like dimming the screen to its lowest, the Steam Deck lasts about 6.5 hours. It doesn't sound like much, but that's more than your standard PS5 controller in most cases. And about those custom settings, if you want the least amount of input delay, you'll need to go into your Steam settings, Remote Play, and toggle Enable Advanced Client Settings. In there, set the video streaming to fast, because all that matters here is the input delay and how fast you can actually control your game. The video quality doesn't matter at all, because you're going to be looking at your 4K screen, which is displaying your docked ROG Ally, as you can see in the B-roll. In the performance menu, lower everything as much as you can, TDP and FPS wise, and allow tearing. If you have to, you can even lower the GPU power. All of this doesn't affect input latency at all, it seems. But sometimes you'll see a slight audio delay or stutter. So just set the audio output to your ROG Ally directly, because those stutters can be a little bit annoying. Having these specific settings will most likely freeze the streamed video, which will make less of a distraction for you. So it works out. Since the Steam Deck is a controller now, it doesn't matter much, especially if you have crappy Wi-Fi like me and just want to take advantage of the Steam Deck's features for your docked PC or Ally. Best of all, it acts like a Steam controller, meaning you could actively use the trackpads for gaming, as well as the back buttons as if you were using a Pro controller. If you have an awesome case like the JSOX mod case, like I do, you'll have a fully protected controller, unlike with most Elite or Pro controllers out there, which are about $250 a pop anyway. An extra $150 more gives you an entire portable handheld capable of becoming a masterful PC controller, with the extra ability to become a command center for your games, thanks to the SteamOS's gaming mode. While the ROG Ally is in docked mode, the Steam Deck's UI still works perfectly to access all of your games with your entire library ready to activate anytime you hit stream. And as intended, starting any game and ending it will only take literally 1 second, thanks to the SteamOS's UI. If you forgot to pack your extra controller because you packed your Steam Deck and ROG Ally, like I sometimes do, turns out the Steam Deck can become a secret badass controller. Another reason why it's a master tier controller isn't only the controller quality, it's the fact Steam Deck's controls pretty much work with any game you throw at it, albeit an Android game, third party, or even an emulated title like Halo Combat Evolved Remastered. The SteamOS controller layout somehow acts like the ROG Ally's main controller by default. It automatically picks up the Steam Deck's controller because you're streaming to it. I'm not sure how that works, but I'm not questioning it. On the ROG Ally, it acts like an Xbox 360 controller or an Xbox One controller. It switches between the two, depending on what you're playing. So that means you don't have to go to Rewast or Steam Deck's Big Picture to get your controller to work on the ROG Ally if you're docking it. You don't have to worry about that if you're streaming directly to your Steam Deck. And all of this shows how far Valve thinks ahead, to the point I didn't even see this coming. But as you can see, I tried Xenia, and there was 0 input latency. Then I tried a random third-party game that isn't available on Steam, game, or most game launchers like X-Men Origins Wolverine, and somehow it played without a hitch. I sometimes have small issues getting the right controller configuration on Steam directly on the ROG Ally, but when streaming it, somehow the controller layout automatically knows what works, and that's all thanks to remote play on the Steam Deck. It's sort of like you're playing PlayStation Now, but with your own library. It automatically syncs the controller, but PlayStation Now has a bit of input latency, while Steam Deck's remote play doesn't. And this revelation has floored me. I'm just excited to see what Valve plans to do with this masterful way to play any game from your PC to your Steam Deck. Even if the Wi-Fi isn't that fast, I only have 100 megabit per second Wi-Fi, which is about the lowest you can get in my area. The input still registers perfectly on time. I advise trying this with your Steam Deck at least once, especially if you have an ROG Ally, so you can have the most powerful mainstream handheld along with the best controls and UI in handheld PC gaming history. And if you do set the streaming to a bit higher quality, if you have the battery life to spare, you can actually output the audio to the Steam Deck, but you can also attach headphones to it as if it were a PlayStation 4 or 5 controller. So that's a pretty neat option. But closing apps within 1 second, even if their entire emulators need that verification or whatnot, is almost sinful to witness. Windows doesn't usually let you go without a few verifications here and there, but streaming straight to the Steam Deck doesn't require any of that extra effort. SteamOS is a lot more shorthanded compared to the Windows OS. But the fact that you have compatibility to most, if not any game on your ROG Ally and a console-like interface with your Steam Deck makes this, to me, the ultimate PC gaming experience. And it's a match made in heaven. If you bring both on a road trip with all the proper shortcuts made, you're going to have next level type of fun and essentially a portable Wii U. As long as you have a good hotspot with you, or if you're on a bullet train that has decent Wi-Fi. With the Steam Deck as a personal customized controller, this makes the ROG Ally's power and the Steam Deck's multiple functions and control options a dream team. And it would be dope if Valve included Armory Crate shortcuts in their Steam input. Hopefully at some point, Valve and Asus work together to just make a better handheld PC gaming community, because we need something like a big company like Valve and Asus to show that they can actually work together and support each other, so that the handheld PC gaming community, which is a long-winded title, can see that they can work together too. And it's possible to have an even better experience if you're using both the Steam Deck and the ROG Ally. Hopefully we see this one day. But yeah, it's taken me quite a while to make this video, and I've been really excited to share this with you guys, not just to show that you have to choose one or the other, but that both handheld PCs have their strong attributes and their weak attributes that they need to work on. The Steam Deck with newer games is lacking in a lot of areas, and it actually can't play games like The Last of Us Part 1 and Resident Evil 4 Remake docked, or most of its games properly docked. While with the ROG Ally's extra power, it can dock any game and look good while it's doing it. Having the Steam Deck to support the ROG Ally while it's docked just makes sense. And sure, at that point, you just may as well get a gaming laptop. But the ROG Ally right now is one of the cheapest and most powerful handheld gaming PCs that you can get. And it's also extremely portable. So if you pack both the ROG Ally and the Steam Deck, all you have to do is bring one dock, power supply, and both systems. And you'll have the best controller with the best UI integrated, as well as one of the most powerful handheld PCs in the world at a very cheap price. But yeah, this is something that everybody needs to try at least once. I don't see anybody online trying this or using the Steam Deck as a controller, and I just wanted you guys to see exactly how I've been using my Steam Deck and ROG Ally simultaneously to coexist in my gaming life. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this crazy setup that I got going on with the Steam Deck and ROG Ally. And if you have any kind of other ways that you're using both in tangent, then let everybody know about that too. Because I think these two systems have what it takes to work together. And because one uses Windows and the other uses Linux, they're technically completely different in terms of user experience and compatibility. I still think it's worth picking up the Steam Deck and picking up the ROG Ally. And if you just want something to quickly play your games on, the Steam Deck is great, especially the fact that they're selling it for $400. A lot of people say that you you can just pick up a Nintendo Switch and a PlayStation 5 for the price that you're getting an ROG Ally for? Technically, yes. But why would you want two things that are pretty much limited and that require you to buy even more games? If you already have games on Steam and you want a portable gaming PC, but you don't want to spend around $1,500. If you just want to spend around, say, $1,000, then you can get a Steam Deck and an ROG Ally, so you can have two reliable handheld PCs with the option to play the ROG Ally docked with the Steam Deck as its master controller. Because having that simple UI experience is something that you need to experience for yourself, but I think it's more important to have the absolute freedom of being a PC gamer like the ROG Ally gives you. And if you just want the basic Steam Deck, just get the $400 64GB model, and you could just stream all of your games from your ROG Ally to your Steam Deck. Or you can install games into your SD card and use it directly on your Steam Deck if you want that simple UI experience. But if you want more power to a point of absurdity where you can play games like Resident Evil 4 Remake at 1080p, high settings, 60 FPS, at its highest difficulty like I do, without any latency, then using the Steam Deck and the ROG Ally in this way will be the best way to play. Especially if you just can't make up your mind if you want to use a controller or a mouse. The Steam Deck gives you both options. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this crazy video. See you guys in the next one. Later.